Hey, hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now.
Awesome. Yogi Kat, nice to see you, nice to meet you. Great job in that
Yeah.
meditation.
Thanks for having me. It was super fun.
No problem. Also, shout out to Paul for curating the audio on that as well.
Yeah. Hey, it was a co-effort. So shout out to Paul and me.
For sure, for sure. When
But
you
mostly Paul, yes.
when you mentioned that, I was like, oh yeah, that'd be great. Like out of the blue, I forgot how close you guys live to each other too. So it was pretty neat.
Now, yeah, he was up like closer to like Daytona area originally. So then he finally made the move and it was just a little 30-minute drive and 12 hours later.
That's all it took, huh?
Yeah, that's
That's awesome.
all.
That's all 12 hours. Yeah.
Yeah,
Were, were,
yeah.
were you guys going at it all day pretty much? Like trial and error?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was like sort of prepping, obviously, just like the type of meditation that I want to do, like just generally. And then basically I was just like, all right, I'm coming over. And I came over and we didn't have too much of a plan. We just started recording and figured things out and found the music and that whole sort of like artist process, like definitely came to life. So that was interesting, but it was
Nice.
fun. Yeah, the plan was there was some planning and some just sort of like letting it happen, which is the way I think should things should go sometimes.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, it turned out great. Really enjoyed it. And great way to start off the year and 111.
Yes, let's get it. No, I like it was really fun, and I think it's nice too to try to take practical things that people can relate to, like seasons and stuff like that, and to apply it to their life and take them through that journey. And I know some meditations are typically, more like imagine you're walking through a forest and you see trees, but my style is trying to be a little bit more conversational with people, to kind of get them to that place of like relaxation and like stillness. So, although I do appreciate when you are envisioning these grand places, I
For
really kind
sure.
of enjoy the lane that I'm trying to be in right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like those like imagining places is like a good intro into meditation. Like whenever you're
Yeah,
starting to
for
get into
sure.
it, it just like helps you visualize or get the mind still. But then eventually you're like, okay, like I just want to be in this like space of just like you said, stillness and like kind of just to calm things down.
Yeah, I think it works really well. Like, especially not all meditations will do like the body scan. Sometimes they do, but it's usually shorter. So I think if you're not going to have like a long, like head to toe body scan to get people like out of their minds, then definitely those sort of scenarios really help people get into that state. And so, but sometimes that's like the whole meditation, obviously, is like this adventure, which is I think more traditional for sure. And I think it's a great way to meditate, but it's interesting I think bringing in sort of like a conversational piece to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And also setting intentions, which I think is always important. Like,
Yeah, I do for sure. Like even when I am like teaching my yoga classes, I start class with people, setting their intention if they have one. But also, to be fair, I like to kind of release that pressure too on people because I think sometimes people just like getting out of bed and showing up is enough, that like they don't
mm-hmm.
have to have this like whole big reason for showing up. It could just be that they need to be there and be out of their house or out of work or wherever they are. And so I try to remind people that it's okay if they don't have one. And like the goal could just be to share energy in whatever space that they're in with everyone that's in there with us.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And going back to yoga, I mean this is where it all started, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So about your journey, if you're open to it, you mind sharing a little bit of like how you got into yoga and how it also led you into this meditation? Because I know the meditation is fairly recent, but yoga you've been
Yeah.
doing for a while.
Yeah, so I played soccer my whole life and I played through college. And then when I graduated, I had a really hard time finding another like activity. I played a little bit here and there after college and like co-ed leagues and stuff like that, but I had a hard time finding something that like was like super interesting to me that I could like keep my attention for a long time and like also
Mm,
challenged me. And even though yoga and hot yoga and soccer don't really have much in common, it challenged my mind and body in a very, very similar way. And so I sort of just slowly started getting into it. And then over time, I got like more and more committed, but I didn't have any plans of ever teaching yoga or leading meditations. That never even seemed like something that didn't even cross my mind at all. I just think over time, the more I got into it, and then right after, I think it was like, yeah, right after the pandemic, I just was like, I think the time is now to do teacher training. And I feel like I always had like a message to share with people. I just didn't know the medium or like vessel to do so. And yoga gave me so much. So I figured like the best thing I can do is use this tool to give it back to other people in whatever way that I can. And so yoga has kind of given me that gift to connect with people and give back what it's given to me, which has been like amazing connections, like just opportunities, experiences just like this. So, um, and then I was pretty much challenged last year to like lead a meditation at a music festival. And it was a space that I was interested in, but I didn't really know where I would fit in with like my vibe. And so like shout out to Paul for sort of pushing me to do that. And I just was
He
like,
was the
okay, I'm
one who
gonna
did
do
it.
it. Yeah, he was the one in his like
Yeah.
soft, graceful way to be like, maybe you should do it, as opposed to like the more aggressive. He was like, maybe it would be a good thing for you. And
Yeah.
almost to the like the point of where like you think that you've decided it yourself, but like really Paul like sort of led you there. And so then I was like, all right, like I'm gonna say la vie, like I'm gonna go do it. And it was like amazing. And it's funny because it allowed me a lot of in some of my yoga classes, I at the end I try to put in my like spiritual stuff that I like and everything, and I try to put it in the beginning, but it definitely felt like way more natural than I thought. And so it just like now is funny, it being my year anniversary of teaching yoga, like now I'm sort of really investing a lot of time and effort into sort of seeing the where I can take meditation as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like it's a natural evolution too of yoga?
Yeah, I think for sure. And I think for the spaces that I like to be in and being able to connect with people and taking them on that journey, I think like moving people through meditation is really powerful. But I also think there's something to be said about just letting people be still and leading them that way. So it does feel very like natural for me, especially just being someone that likes to talk and like connect with people and hear people's stories and those sorts of things. It for me, like in my heart and stuff, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Glad to hear. Glad excited to see
Mm,
what comes from it. And this is just the beginning.
yeah.
So very cool.
Yeah. No, I thank you for having me. This was like really fun and I want to do more of this type of stuff. I know we're gonna do a yoga flow and I was like, no.
It's
We
okay.
should do a meditation.
Future collab stuff.
For sure, for sure.
And also going back to Paul, like, yeah, he has a really good way of just like, if you're interested in something, he'll plant the seed, and then he'll be
Oh
like,
yeah.
You should, if you don't want to try it, it's cool, but maybe try it out. Try it out. Like, all right, you cat's out of the bag. Like, I guess I'm going to. You're just
Yeah,
nudging it a little bit.
literally. That's how it is. And that's what I told him was like one of his strengths recently. I was like, you have this interesting way of sort of being like, maybe you should.
Mm,
Like, but like, and then you're like, I can't believe I just agreed to like doing this thing, and
yeah,
but it's a very powerful thing, and I'm very grateful for it.
yeah, definitely. Shout out Paul.
Yeah,
And sweet sounds in general.
yeah, sweet sounds, sweet
So
souls.
definitely. How was hosting yoga? Was Big W your first retreat hosting yoga?
Beta was the first music festival, yeah, that I
Or
taught
sorry,
yoga
festival.
at.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I am leading a retreat. I will co-hosting a retreat in Costa Rica like in soon in March. But yeah,
Nice.
Big Dub was the first music festival, which I've been going to music festivals for as long as I've been practicing yoga, which has been like over a decade. And so I knew that music has always been like a very, very important thing to me generally. So I knew music festivals was going to be the space that I ultimately wanted to go into. Because I don't like play an instrument or make music, but I was like, how can I contribute to like the music industry and
Hmm.
festival world somehow? And so I found like a medium to do that. And so in Paul's way, he's like, "Yeah, come teach yoga." And I'm thinking like I'm gonna go and, teach like maybe one. I taught like three. Yeah, I taught every day and like
Did you
did some
really?
things. Yeah,
That's
yeah, I taught
awesome.
one every single day, and like, yeah, we it was like 0 to 100, and some of the first day actually I was just like on the ground at Hemlock Hole if anyone has been to Big Dub, and then everyone was like, you should do them on top of the speakers, like on top of the bass and stuff, and I was like kind of nervous about it because I'm like, what if I fall? I'm nervous. I don't know, and I was like, whatever,
Yeah.
like. I'm just gonna ball out and like go on top of these things. So the 2 days following, I did it on top, and so that was really fun. But that
Nice.
was a slip of like maybe you should just go up there. And I was like on the stage, and I was like, all right, lit, I guess, okay.
Leveling up.
Yeah, but it was an amazing experience. I met a lot of really cool people there.
That's cool. Did it rain there at all, or was it pretty good weather?
It didn't. It rained for like 10 minutes, which is funny because a lot of people said that it like is notorious for raining all the time.
Yeah,
And it
last
really
year is
didn't rain. Yeah, everybody,
bad.
but it actually didn't rain a substantial amount at all. But there was a lot of fog and they had to like push back. I think maybe it was Friday or Saturday. They had to push back like when people were coming because like you couldn't see where you could park. So
Oh,
luckily, yeah. So
I didn't
it
even think
wasn't.
of that.
Yeah, the fog was rolling in and it was one of those scenes. And
One of
so,
the scenes, like out of a
yeah,
movie. Like, if I ain't
yeah,
going to the right
exactly.
place, yeah,
Right. And, out in like the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, things get a little dicey.
definitely, definitely. So, getting into yoga, where did you start off? Like, did you start looking into just like local community areas? Did you look online? Like, what was your initial start of the path?
So my mom actually like got me into yoga when I was still living in Asheville, around the time I was graduating from college. And so there was like, I don't know if it's still there. I think it's like Asheville Yoga Company or something. So like she got me into that. And so I would go there every so often when she would visit. And then when I moved to Charlotte, I found a studio called a Rickion, and that's where I like really started practicing. And I found that through word of mouth. Like which is kind of funny because it was like 30 minutes away from my like where I was living and there was a studio like a mile away. So it's kind of funny that I was going so far, but I like to take recommendations from people and when
Yep.
I went there, it seemed like the best fit for me and so I just was going there all the time. And then when I moved down to Florida, same thing. I just Googled, but I was like looking for a specific type of like hot yoga studio like so so I did my research and found drip hot yoga and then I moved closer to Pure where I teach and then I started going to Pure but yeah when I moved to Florida it was definitely like research based in Charlotte so things just sort of moved along and progressed kind of naturally I'd go to like pop-up things or go on like YouTube and stuff like that it was very like natural progression and something that I just listen, I've tried playing like different instruments. Tried playing different. I was like into row house for a while, and then I was into like all these little things, and nothing could like keep my attention. So,
Yeah.
yoga won, for a variety of reasons. So, yeah, that's
Awesome.
how that progressed over like a decade.
It's
Went
something
from like
that
once a week to like every day.
hey, that's how you know it's your passion. Like, it just
Yeah.
always comes back. It's very
hmm
cool.
Yeah, so I feel grateful for but it was interesting like how the yoga studio was in Charlotte based on how it is here, where I didn't know when I was living in Charlotte, the actual yoga, the flows were exactly the same for all classes. And so over time you could kind of memorize what they were, which I wasn't really used to that. And when I came down to Florida though, every class was different and I was that really sort of like got me to sort of pop off because I the repetition
Huh.
after a while does become like because if you're not doing like Bikram the like 26 that's expected to be the same poses but if you're doing like a flow or power class for me anyway I switch up all my classes and I teach a different class every time and that's how my studio is and that's how it was when I got down here to drip and that's what was like okay like I can also be creative I
Hmm.
don't have to, and that also gave me more confidence to, I guess, when I was around starting to teach because I didn't have to like fit this box of like learning, memorizing a flow that someone else created.
Yeah. Yep. And I think like having like those memorized flows are good as like templates to get you started. But eventually, like once you get the hang of things, I mean, even with like music or anything that like you do routinely, like you eventually you're like, all right, I need to get out of this. Like I need to try something new and
Yeah.
and experiment. So that's cool that they give you that opportunity to do that.
Yeah, and I think for me, where I got my certification, I was like really lucky. Had been around in the area that I live in, like pure yoga and fitness for so long, and a lot of my teacher training, which I learned isn't hasn't wasn't the same for like a lot of different people I know, where we were having to come up with sequences every single weekend. So like we learned how to really put them together in our
Hmm.
training. So when I came out of it, like I could put my sequence together and I still felt comfortable changing it because versus needing someone to give me one to do, which I feel like if we didn't practice always creating sequences every weekend, then I probably would have needed someone to give me something to start.
Hmm. Hmm. That's cool. Um,
Mm.
so you went to Costa Rica to get certified?
No, I was here. I got it here in Clearwater, Pure Yoga and Fitness, where like I'm blessed to also be teaching because it's honestly really rare that like a studio just will hire you right out of your teacher training. So I'm very, very
Yeah.
lucky for that to have happened, and the yoga community there generally. But I was in Costa Rica on a retreat last April, which is the same retreat that I'm co-teaching on this March, which is like surreal as well because they'll be at Bodhi Tree Yoga Resort, which is in Nosara, which I've traveled a lot and that's one of my favorite places. And so to now go back and be able to like return the gift that gave to me to people coming on the retreat is amazing. I can't wait.
That's cool. I'm glad you Brett mentioned Costa Rica because you're like the I think the third or fourth person who has like also traveled somewhat and like has mentioned Costa Rica as like one of the places that truly matches like the pictures or like what you see online.
Yes. It's not like New York City, which I love, and I grew up right outside New York City, but like it's, when you go, you realize it's not exactly how they portray it in movies. Like,
Yeah.
like it's kind of dirty, it smells, but
Yeah.
like but Costa Rica, you actually go there and it is like that. And but Costa Rica had been calling me for like probably 7 or 8 years. And so finally I like treated myself to that after I got certified last year. And so I went, but it really is. That's the people there. There's so much to do. There's just like something whimsical and magical in the air. So I recommend everyone go there, but not like everyone where it just becomes like saturated.
Touristy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Only if you feel called to it. Yeah,
Only some people, yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Don't turn it into a spring break place. We don't need
No,
that.
please. Oh my God, SOS. Like that's what happened to like Tulum, you know? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Tulum, Panama City, like yeah.
yeah.
Did you just get
Let's
worn
just
out?
like, yeah. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen, but
Yeah.
also I would love for everyone to experience Costa Rica.
That's awesome. What are some of the things like regarding your work for yoga or recently meditation that you enjoy? Like, what are some of the benefits?
For me, I like the connections that I get to build with people and how it makes other people feel. So, like, my goal is always to curate, whether it's my flow or a meditation, to evoke something in someone that they may not have been able to access or have been blocking or help them work through something. I have to admittedly say I'm not a really big supporter of like the word healing because I don't really think that like I don't believe that people really heal. I think they learn how to like sit with their trauma and like sit with those things. And
Hmm.
so not saying that you can, it's just like my direction that I like to go in is just like how can people look to themselves and uplift themselves and have that power in themselves to move forward and be okay with things that may not be like good memories or good experiences. And so it's worth it for me like uplifting and elevating that like level of human connection on like the purest, level that there possibly is. I'm naturally a creative person, so I do like that's why I had so much fun with Paul, like putting the music together and us just like vibing and doing that whole creative process. Like that is probably my second favorite thing. Cause again, like if I could be a producer and make music and do that whole thing, I totally would.
Hmm.
So I that is so near and dear to my heart to have that like creative outlet. But a lot of the things and stories people have told me after I teach a yoga class or after I lead a meditation is so powerful. And it's humbling to me because I'm just doing something to help other people and I don't have any expectations, but just wanting them to feel better when they leave than when they came in and like for them to feel seen and heard and all those things that maybe they don't normally feel for like an hour, 45 minutes. I really want them to feel that way, like genuinely. So that's like, that gives me like just this super super high that's like unparalleled is like watching people like release things that they're holding on to and also feeling powerful like in themselves, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm just guiding them. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like help giving them a platform to move closer to who they truly are. It really doesn't have much to do with me. I'm just opening the door.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Do you feel like you enjoy it just as much like partaking in a yoga class as opposed to like teaching it?
That's really funny you should say that because when I started teaching yoga, I went from having like one class to teaching five classes within like 4 months. So my relationship to yoga changed a lot because I didn't really have that much time anymore to like practice myself. And so now I went down to three, but now I'm going back up to four. But I have found ways, and I think this is important for everybody that has a hobby that they also are working in, is to create boundaries while I'm in those spaces. So when I go take yoga classes, even though I know everybody at my studio, I've tried now to sort of like be more in the corner, or when I go in there, be in my own space and like find that sort of like seclusion and solitude because if not then I'm turned on all the time and I'm still sort of working even though I'm there to flow, if that makes sense. And even like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes if the class is going over, I'll leave a little bit earlier. I don't know if anyone is going to see this from my studio, but I'll leave a little bit earlier before the class ends just so that I don't have to do all the socializing when I leave because it's a natural thing because I teach there and I
Yep.
love everybody, but it's if I leave a little bit before Shavasana's over, then I'm like protecting my energy and my space to have just gone in there to experience yoga for myself, which is few and far between. So
Yeah.
there's definitely a different feeling that and I've had to just do that and that's expected, when you go to the other side of things. So
Yeah,
and
for
same when
sure.
I'm at festivals. I try to like go off by myself for a minute just because the emotional I'm carrying my own but also others, which I love to do, but it does take like a big emotional and physical toll for
It
sure.
it does. It could drain you real quick, and then
Yeah.
so you're also the type of person who needs to like isolate the recharge.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
100%. I need to like
Yeah.
just for like a minute and like be quiet and like just sort of and I can go for a little bit, but that's helps me to sort of like separate
Yeah.
and I used to not know that about myself. I used to like just keep going and then over time I learned that it's really important for me to like separate for a minute or just like sit in silence.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's just like I actually talked to somebody about this at the gym the other day. I don't know if it's like personality wise or if it's actually just getting older. But like you usually when
Yeah.
you were younger, like you
Wait, you
would
say
go.
I'm getting older? How do you
I've
think
called
how do you
myself
think
old,
I'm kidding.
okay?
I'm
Okay.
kidding. I'm kidding.
I'll throw you under the bus. Not yet.
Please no.
but but yeah, I was just talking to somebody and they mentioned like, yeah, like when you were younger, you would go out to get like recharge your batteries. Now I feel like I like almost dread going out. Not that I dread, but I enjoy seeing people. But after a while, it's like, all right, I need a whole weekend or two to recharge before I go out
Oh,
again.
100%. And but the thing is, in this sort of like wellness world, a lot of it has to do with sort of like trying to nurture some of those relationships in there and do more to be able to give back. And that's where I find it hard to sometimes find those like make those draw that line in the sand because a lot of it is about me like continuing to connect with people, but does take me a hot minute to like sort of and I think it's a mixture of like getting older and just the overstimulation, but then also learning just about yourself
Mm-hmm.
generally. Um and
Mm.
how to sort of step back because it's a lot. I have to like Irish goodbye sometimes, you know what I mean? Like I'll say like bye to
Oh,
one or
you
two
call it
people.
Irish goodbye? Okay, I call it ninja
Yeah.
dipping. That's
Yeah,
cool.
that's honestly
Yeah.
better. And then I like text the people there and I'm like, I'm so sorry I didn't say goodbye, but I couldn't. I had to go.
Seriously though, because if you don't, you will spend another like half hour, and then sometimes people want to talk. I'm like, I love you, but this is the boundaries. Like that's okay. It's okay. Next time.
Yeah, for sure. I think getting over the anxiety of the impact of that also was huge. Of like, it's okay if I leave and I don't say bye. They're not gonna like hate me forever.
Yeah.
They're probably gonna understand or not notice at all and be like, "Oh, I didn't see you leave." Like, and it's like, great,
Yeah.
it worked. The ninja dipping definitely worked.
For sure.
So there's that.
So I
But
do see some people in chat. Somebody says I love you. I'm guessing that's Jackie. Is that one of your friends?
I don't, Jackie? I
It says
don't
Jackie
know.
Moon. JM.
Oh yeah, Moon. Yeah, yeah, I love you. Oh my
Love you.
God.
And then she said, shut up, Paul.
Yeah, yeah.
And then actually, Soul Mountain Men, another yoga teacher, and a buddy
Oh,
of mine that I met at Electric Forest, Ryan, he's on here as well. He's so momentum.
oh,
He,
sweet.
he actually we did a chat last year, but it was just a wellness chat. But yeah, I guess 2024 is the year I'm gonna get a lot of yogis on here, so it'll be exciting.
Ye- Oh yeah, that's the wellness world is really popping off. I mean, the world needs it, you know. And to be fully transparent, I think like the wellness department, if you will, has taken some interesting turns where I think some people have made it feel really exclusive and inaccessible to beginners or people that may not fit a certain mold. And so I think it's important that a lot of different people continue to enter it that can kind of tear that down. Because I think a lot of times people are now intimidated by the wellness space, or they don't feel like they can go into a yoga studio or go to different places because they don't fit this like stereotype and what you see on Instagram and what you see on YouTube. And it's not really that cool. Honestly, and so, like it's not, I think, and it drives me like crazy, especially just sometimes the way people talk about the wellness industry as someone in the wellness space. And it makes it very hard for people to feel like they can be vulnerable and they can let go when they are trying to upkeep with this like status quo of how you should behave in the wellness industry when everybody's path and everybody's like experience when there is different and their reason for getting into it, whether it's through yoga, meditation, breath work, Reiki, whatever it is so like subjective. But I am just hoping that more people start entering the space to sort of like stop that.
Hmm.
Because it does sort of create this toxic environment. And it becomes more about being this sort of like spiritual person that checks all these boxes of what somebody should look like who does yoga or teaches yoga or leads meditations. And it's just very exclusive, which is so like counterproductive. So
Yeah, it's yeah counterproductive. And almost is the opposite of what wellness is supposed to mean.
yeah, it's like the wellness is not so well right now, like in some ways. And it's like not, it's just not okay. But there's a lot of people that are realizing that and trying to break those walls back down so more people can feel welcome in the space.
Yeah, yeah. And going back to what you were saying, whenever you were like checking out yoga studios, and I
Hmm.
think you, Paul, and I were talking about this the other day about like finding venues that have good vibes, like good environments. It's so crucial because like whenever I was looking for places around here, I was looking for you check the and I'd love to hear your process and how you did it. But for me, I just looked at reviews and then places that were doing certain events and sometimes reviews don't hold up. Sometimes it's just like the first layer and then you go, you're like, I don't know what they're talking about. But
Yeah, I'm a
but
big review person
yeah,
too.
for
Yeah, I
sure.
look deep into the reviews and I will look at all I will look a little bit at the highs and I'll be like, all right, well, let's look at these lows. And then I'll be like, all right, this seems like it could be a little too subjective, or this one seems like they just don't like this. And then you go into the space and you feel the energy and you can usually like I've heard people say that they've gone to yoga studios where it felt just really clicky. And I've been in those too. Or they've
Mhm.
been to events that felt like if you weren't a regular at those events and you weren't really included or you didn't weren't welcomed in the same way. So that definitely really exists. I think reviews are a great place to start. Obviously, recommendations, like I said earlier. Um, and then really just my biggest thing at any studio really is to try out all the classes. Sometimes you can get really connected to one person, or you can go to one person and be like, no, they're not doing it for me, and then write off everybody else. I see that a lot. And I think it's really important to keep an open mind and to try everybody, even if you found the person that you think that you love. Because someone may not be your vibe there, but someone else may be. The people that go to that class may be, some of my classes have totally different vibes of people.
Hmm.
How I connect with them are totally different. Um, but I think that's important when you're entering spaces too, because there might be someone that kind of can help you get accommodated to the others in that space or workshop or whatever event that you're at.
Hmm. Well said. Yeah. And I guess for me too, like I feel like it's definitely gotten better, but like the past, whenever I was first getting into it, going
Hmm.
to like public places was maybe kind of weird to go as a male because there was a lot of
Yeah.
females going there. So now
Yeah.
over the years it's kind of shifted, and I mean, music festivals do it now, and it's definitely helped a lot. But yeah, I definitely see where like there could be certain clicks and whatnot, but most of my experiences so far have been good. So.
Yeah, that's what's important. And it is funny. That's what I get from some of my guy friends. They're gonna be like, "Am I the only guy that's gonna be in class?" And I'm like,
Hmm.
"No, but you might be, and that's okay."
Yeah.
Like you likely won't. There has been other like men in there, but it's gonna be okay. So you are right. I think that's gotten a little bit better and more streamlined. So it feels better. But I think too, it's also the responsibility of the studio or whoever's leading it to make people feel comfortable. Everybody, like I could talk to, that's just my personality, that like I could talk to anybody about anything, like whether you probably know, like Alex, have realized this about
Hmm.
me. But
Hmm.
I think it's important that um your studio or whatever you have people that realize they need to do that. Like it's a need to walk around and talk to people that may be new or may look like they're not very comfortable, because that goes back to like why I like to lead meditations too. People just want to feel seen. Like that's how they feel comfortable. And so when they're by themselves, even if they come solo, if you give them attention for like 2 seconds and just say hi to them versus ignoring them to then say hi to all the people that always come all the time, which are important too. You want to acknowledge them. That person gets like pushed farther back into a corner. So I think it's just being aware, right? Which is sort of the whole point of like yoga and meditating too. Like being
Yeah.
being aware and present of what is going on around you if you are leading in those spaces.
Hmm. Definitely. Very cool. Yeah, and just keep on like being open to inviting more people, even if even if you don't think they would be your vibe or anything like that. Like everybody is there for like a specific reason, like you mentioned. So.
Yeah, and it's so funny, like the vibe thing is hilarious because it's like obviously you can tell when you initially get to like if you just already hit it off with someone, but there's been so many times where I've started talking to someone and they've surprised me with so many things that you don't expect, just because maybe they don't visually seem like someone that may be on your like vibe or whatever have you, maybe what they're wearing or the things that they have, all those like things our consciousness decides are ways to like measure if somebody is on the same wavelength. But moving past that and just trying to connect. I mean, if you don't know a stranger, you have so much to talk about. Like,
Hmm.
there's really no reason that you can't say something.
All the time in the world.
Yeah, like you don't know anything about them, so.
Yeah, and I feel like in yoga classes, one of the ways to get past that like border or boundary is just like more difficult yoga classes. Like you go through a hot yoga class with somebody, you guys like went through that suffering
Yeah.
together. Like you guys bonded out from that suffering.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes, like for sure. There's people in my classes that'll like chatter. They'll be like moaning and groaning, and like now they're friends because they just like died together, I guess, and became and
Yeah.
resurrected. But then even as a teacher, what I found, and I maybe it's through my teaching, is like helping, like especially when new people come into my class, I pay like extra attention to their like form and stuff, and I go help them in small ways, and that they really appreciate because they typically or don't know if sometimes they've taken yoga, but maybe they haven't done these poses or whatever. And I have found that like doing adjustments, even small ones, like lifting their arms up higher in Warrior Two, then they're like they transform. They're like all of a sudden they come out of their shell just because you gave them that. And I think people do that for each other in class too. Talking to your neighbor, crying with your neighbor,
Hmm.
dying and sweating with your neighbor, and just being there with each other and feeding off each other's energy is so powerful and important. And then you by then you know everybody at your studio.
Hmm. And I always appreciated like anyone who helped to adjust me, because like how do you know if you're doing it right or not? I'm sure some people can maybe take it personal, like they might not even know what they're doing, but like most of the time, anytime who's ever helped me out, I'm like, thank you. Like, yeah, not I don't want to like tweak out my back or do something wrong that's not gonna be good in the long
Yeah.
term.
Most people actually surprised, like not maybe a little surprisingly, don't get as like upset about it or their ego, but I really think it's all about the approach, and how you're approaching them. And I'm sure who people that have helped you have approached you in a very non-threatening way. Because if some there I've been in studios where the person's like, "What are you doing?" Like calling people out in that way. And then the person kind of shrinks because not only are they getting called out because they're not doing something right, now everybody's looking at them,
Yeah, being
So that's
singled
a lot
out.
different. Yeah, that's a lot different. I've been singled out before and I did not like that in the past.
Dang.
And so like in past studios where I was just like dying and I was getting called out about that and they're being told not to drink water and I'm like I'm definitely gonna drink water. But But
Yeah.
people don't like that versus going up to a person and being like, hey, maybe you should use this block, then you can open up more in this pose, versus being like across the room, like, Ben, you suck.
Yeah.
Yeah, like fix your form.
I'm not gonna lie. If that ever happened, I'd probably walk out. I'd be
I know
like,
I've
"What
seen
is
it happen.
this?"
I've seen it happen where like teachers are really calling people out in the middle and some people nervous laugh, and just but you can tell inside they do not like it.
Yeah, yeah.
Or the one that just is like, "Yeah, I love it." They're like, not
Just get
okay.
this attention away from me, please. Let me get back in my hole.
Yeah, for sure. So,
My buddy Ryan said about hot yoga. That's a rite of passage right there.
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, and it's so funny. My mom and always says I'm crazy. I like it really hot. Like I like to suffocate. And so it's winter time here in Florida. It's kind of our studio typically is like 105, 108, but you have to think about it. We're in Florida with the humidity in the summer, so that feels like you're on the equator. And
Yeah,
so I like to suffocate, but I have to really make sure that like everyone's good at the fans and stuff. And a lot of my students come to my class because they also like to suffocate. But I'm not on the mat the whole time when I'm teaching. But now, right now, while I'm teaching, I've started wearing hoodies because I want to be hotter. And it's like 105 in there, and we have our humidifiers on to make it humid. And everyone's like, Why are you wearing that?" I'm like, I just really need to like really die and like
yeah.
sweat. If that gives you like any.
I need to go through this journey. Okay, just let me do it.
Yeah, they're like, "Why are you teaching in a parka?" And I'm like, "Because
A
I need to."
parka.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, "Cause I need that. Like,
Yeah.
I need to be in this hoodie right now." So, and I've been practicing like that too recently, going to classes and wearing a hoodie like a psychopath, but that's okay.
Hey, if that's your calling, that's taking you to new heights, then go for it.
Yeah, so and the nice thing though is I really do believe that hot yoga like loosens your muscles and body up a little bit faster. And I always just tell people like it's fine if you just want to lay on your mat. You don't have to do everything. And most of the time people will come in and they'll be like, if I'm just laying there, like don't worry about me. And I'm like, same, if I'm just laying there, don't worry about me either. Someone will take over the class.
Mm-hmm. That's
So
true. Speaking of like, if there's somebody who wanted to get started, for anybody who's listening who might be a newbie, like, hey, this all sounds exciting. I want to suffer too, but in all seriousness, like they want to get into like yoga or meditation. I know you mentioned looking at reviews for studios, but is there anything else that you would want to bring up for someone to get started?
yeah, I think also, so I looking at reviews, obviously, most studios will have like a discount for the first time that you go. And so I would look around at different studios and try that way. So usually it's like discounted $5 or $10 for your first class or something. Or sometimes they'll have like specials of like 2 weeks or so. I recommend that because one thing, the vibe. You want to go to a place where you automatically feel welcomed, but then also I find that people will get into yoga and they'll go once or twice, but you really need to go several times for you to feel like if it's something that you like or you don't, especially hot yoga because it's really intimidating, the breathing and all of that. Um, you really like should to commit to like 2 weeks of going like twice or three times if you can manage it, or a month and twice a week each month to give yourself time to not just see if you like hot yoga versus not hot yoga, but also to figure out what style of class you might like. You may not like the power, you might like the flow. So now you're going to go to flow and you're going to grow in there. And the back to the teacher thing, you may only like one teacher. So that's who you want to go to. So to me, it takes about a month to figure out if it's something that you really want, but oftentimes people will go like once or twice in totality and then they'll like make up their mind, and it's really hard to decide. And I think getting comfortable with just knowing that you don't know. A lot of people will be like, I want to practice before I come to your class, or like, I don't. The best thing is I'm not flexible. I don't know if I should do yoga, which is like so hilarious because that's the point. Like you get
Yeah.
more flexible by like going.
Yeah.
And so I always just tell people literally just go and you can lay there the whole time. I have people that come to my class that are regulars sometimes that just lay because that day they're tired or they can't breathe or they have a headache. So most people go into yoga intimidated because they see all these influencers and people doing like handstands, into chaturangas, into like dancer, and then like all this, and they feel like they are gonna look silly or embarrass themselves. But if they go into a studio and they feel like that, or anyone makes them, then they definitely shouldn't be at that studio anyway.
Mhm.
And look for studios of teachers, I believe anyway, that are aware that you're there and are helping you and making you feel welcome, because that'll make it easier too. Um, than the latter where you can go and just feel invisible and you feel like you don't know what you're doing. Because you do, I mean, it's okay that you don't know what you're doing. You're not like, it's okay that you don't know the names or that you don't know how to get into things. Just go with an open mind and just remember, if it's hot yoga, you can just lay there. Like, it's better to lay there and start getting acclimated to the heat than the latter, pushing yourself and passing out or feeling really sick. It's
Mhm.
just body acclimation. I'll leave for like a week if I'm on vacation. I'll come back and I still have to reacclimate.
Mhm. Yeah. I remember the
So
first like couple 3 or 4 times like hot yoga. It was either second and third time I had to like just chill out and chug a bottle of water because I thought I was gonna pass
yeah,
out. Like,
right. So
yeah.
exactly. And so I find this with men a lot. No shade, but sometimes tell me the space and they like want really want to power through it, and more like I get it, but it is better to just relax and take in the experience. And even if you do a quarter of the class, I think that's the most important thing. Go into it knowing that you don't know anything, and like that's really okay, and
Yeah.
that you do not need to power through it. If you are dying, it is fine.
Leave your
Like
ego
even
at the door. It's gonna be
yeah,
okay.
exactly. It's gonna be okay, but really find a studio that matches. I have gone to studios that I don't go to because they don't fit my vibe, or it's not really what I like, and that's okay. That's why try different places out, try different teachers out, and then kind of commit to a month of doing it once or twice a week. And then practice at home too. Like you're gonna end up most people end up getting addicted and then they're doing it at home anyways, and that incline just sort of
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
And I've seen a little bit of like what you post with your studio, and it seems like they do a pretty good job of like being pretty inclusive and highlighting all of like your teachers and everything. That's pretty cool.
yeah, we're definitely a unique community and a family. And it actually made my studio is admittedly a difficult place to actually teach at for a variety of reasons. But what made me feel really comfortable, a teacher there recently said to me, she's like, when I started teaching here, I didn't realize it was gonna like, I didn't realize how hard it is to actually like successfully teach here. I don't think that I would have if I had known. And she had asked me how I felt, but I think because I was a part of the community before I started teaching, I was really comfortable with people and knew that they had my best interest and were going to give me time to kind of grow there. And so that was sort of the nice thing. And I think that's important really anywhere space that you're going to be in is that the community lifts you up. And that's sort of how it is at my studio for sure. Like if you're giving to the community is giving back and vice versa.
Mhm.
Um, and so I feel, again, very lucky to be teaching where I am teaching at and a part of it because the people there really do help you elevate you in whatever ways you can as you start your teacher journey and nurture it for help you nurture it as well.
Full circle experience. Very cool.
Yeah, you for sure.
uh,
Definitely didn't expect that.
yeah. I know you mentioned what was the name of the retreat or place you linked up with for Costa Rica?
So it's with a teacher named Sarah Olson, and it's Pura Vida Yoga Retreat at Bodhi Tree Yoga Resort in Nosara, Costa Rica. So it's linked on my Instagram, and my handle. There's a URL there if you want information. We do have a few spots left, so it's for a week. The pricing is just based on the type of housing accommodations you pick. 3 meals are included, and then yoga every day, and there's usually a special guest like sound bath. I'm gonna obviously be teaching. I'm gonna be leading a meditation there as well, and yoga. I'm
Nice.
excited. So, and you're right, walking distance to the beach. So you're in the jungle, like there's monkeys eating while you're eating around you, and you
What?
can walk like 5 minutes. Yeah, 5 minutes to the beach. Yeah, there's so much wildlife. These huge iguanas. I was like sharing my banana with, and just you can hear the howler monkeys at night. Yeah, you're really in there. And some animals I don't know the name of walking around.
You might have not seen before. You're like, oh, that's
Yeah,
cool.
like maybe on Animal Planet or something,
Yeah.
but yeah, you're in the jungle. You could drive by the resort and not even see it because it's like really deep up on this hill in the jungle. So,
Nice.
yeah,
Any Komodo dragons?
maybe.
I would freak out.
I'm like, maybe. I didn't see any, but there, I mean, there were like some big lizards. Like, it was so hilarious as I posted some of the animals on my Instagram recently, like the monkeys and
Mhm.
this other little creature, cute fuzzy thing that looked like a really cute raccoon I posted. And then I posted the big lizard. And what's so funny is everyone was like, oh, cute monkeys. Oh, cute, cute little raccoon thing. Everybody was like, the lizards pushed me over the edge. No, they're like, that's a dinosaur. Nobody was feeling that. They were like, no. They're like, that's not cute.
Oh, that's awesome.
So.
With that retreat, why did you choose them? What was your reasoning for it?
So actually, this is very in line with my personality. I just went on the Bodhi Tree website. I knew I wanted to go to Costa Rica and I wanted to go to that yoga resort, but I felt you can go on that website and there's retreats being held all year long. And I just went on there. I saw her retreat. I saw the name. I looked at it. I was like, this looks cool. I checked out her Instagram, Sarah's. I was like, she seems like she fits the vibes. And then I was like, all right, I'm gonna do that. That's it. I knew I wanted to go to the resort. I found the retreat that I felt was probably best for me. And two of my friends came and never had talked to this woman. Just like I remember wanting to
Hey, I
pin them.
creeped you out on Instagram. All right, I'm coming to check you out.
Yeah,
Let's
I
go.
Instagram stalked her. I was like, okay, she's legit. I made my first payment through PayPal, which I never do because I was like, am I getting scammed? And
Right.
did not get, and I didn't obviously get scammed. She's an amazing person. And she holds retreats all over the world, like Italy, Kenya, that's what she does for a living. Love her so much for giving me this opportunity to do this with her and assist her on the retreat and everything. But that's how I picked it. But that's just my personality. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
is also just like, oh, we'll see. I'm just gonna see what happens. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
go to the, yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool. Hey,
Looks
it works for
good.
you.
Yeah, and honestly, I push a lot of people to. I went with two friends, but my next thing is to just do sort of like a solo trip. two people on the retreat last year that came by themselves, didn't have a friend or a significant other. And watching their experience was really inspiring. It kind of forces you out of your comfort zone. And oh, I got to have a really beautiful conversation with one of the girls that was on it. And I know that seems really scary to a lot of people, but you're never really lost. As long as you have like some money in your passport, you can always figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's how I picked it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think sounds really scary to people still. They're like, but that seems like nothing, but really you'll be fine.
Especially in modern day society with the cell phone and GPS, and I'm sure many countries have something similar to Uber, even if Uber itself is not available. Like
Oh yeah,
opportunities all around. Google
for sure.
Translate, like yeah,
Yeah, they have these little like tuk-tuks that are like I call them sort of like they're probably like a step down from like a golf cart that you ride around Nosara in that you can get to like the little towns. And I went and got a private sound bath at this guy's house that came to do a sound bath for all of us. He was like, "Oh, I do private sessions." And he's like, "Up at my house." And I was like, "All right, cool, lit. I'm gonna do that." So I took this little tuk-tuk. Like, I didn't know if I was even gonna make it to his house because this little thing on like three wheels and the terrain. I was like, just by myself. Like, wow, is this it for me? I mean, it's fine. It's beautiful here.
it's fine. At least I'm going out with a good scene.
Yeah,
Good scenery.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, he was so nice. I didn't feel like outside of the terrain being a little dicey for the vehicle that I was in. I felt safe. I mean, I went to this person's house that had, I mean, yes, Sarah knew him and he came and did this thing, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, you know what I'm saying? Like
So
I've
there's
seen
like a
enough.
little bit of accountability there, but yeah,
Yeah, a little bit,
a little
which
bit.
probably doesn't feel like enough for some. I mean, we've all seen movies where people just like, what's that one movie, Liam Neeson, where he always loses people, but he's got like three
Taken.
movies? Taken, yeah, like
Yeah.
three times. You would
Yeah.
now him, like you wouldn't want him watching you because he loses people.
Yeah.
Like,
He does not have a great track record. No way.
no, he does not. But I felt fine in my little like tuk-tuk. And to your point, like my phone worked, everyone there, most people now, I need to learn Spanish, but
Yeah.
most people, I feel very ignorant about that. But most people,
Duolingo.
I know, but is that like applicable? Because I see these shrieks and stuff, but then I'm like, could you have a conversation though? Do you
So
feel like
they
it's
break it down very little, so you could have like 3 to 4 minute lessons per day. I would say
okay?
after like you do definitely have to train for a little bit, like a couple months to get pretty
Okay.
decent. But they do a really good job of like keeping it simple every day. Because I feel like
Okay.
if it's too long, you're not going to want to do it. But if it's only
I
like
know.
two to four
This day and
minutes,
age.
yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Okay. I might have to get on there so I can figure it out when I go, but
Mhm.
luckily it's the American experience. Most times when we go somewhere, people are speaking English, so
That's good to hear.
that's a little less stressful, but you know,
Yeah.
also we should graduate from one language at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. At least one other.
I know, I'm working on it.
We got a few comments in the chat
Okay.
again. Soul Mountain Man or Ryan said Nosara is where he'll be at too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
When?
Yeah. When are you going, Ryan? And what are you going for?
Yeah, what are you going for?
And then we have Thoughts and Threads. Hey, what's up, Thoughts and Threads? Good to see you.
Ooh, hey.
She said, "Should I pull the trigger and go to Costa Rica? I'm really into monkeys and I'm really into cats." And she spelled cats with
Yeah.
a K. Yes,
Yeah, yeah, right now.
pull the trigger.
Honestly, yeah, pull it. Yeah,
Go
go
to
and
the
experience.
retreat with Cat.
Yeah, come on. Let's get it.
Yep,
You should. All the things, cats, monkeys, water, surfing, horseback riding.
yep.
There's all sorts of things.
Hey, maybe you can sell some merch there.
Yes.
Can never have an opportunity go by, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, I also Orca 2998 says love you much, mom. I don't know if you know
Oh,
who
it's
that
my
is.
mom probably. Yeah.
Nice.
Love you. Yeah.
Hi, mom. Very cool. Ryan said he's hosting a men's retreat at Tierra Moore. Oh, that's where the retreat is. April 29th through May 4th.
Oh man, I'm rats. I'm going in March. I wish that he was going to be there at the same time.
Right.
Has he been in Osara before? I love like it's probably. Have you been there? It's
I have
amazing.
not. I have not, but
Has
I
he
would
been
definitely
there?
consider it. We're about to find out. Keep an eye on the chat. You
Yeah.
said first time going to CR.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Well, you can definitely, if you want any recommendations for that, if you are in the Nosara area too, let me know. There's a lot of fun stuff to do.
Yeah. Check out
So
chat. I dropped her Instagram in the chat below, so feel free to check her out. Send a message.
you might not come back, just letting you know. So pack a lot of those.
One time trip. If you bec-
Honestly,
yeah, you become a resident, I'll come visit. That's fine.
honestly, I've already extended my trip by 1 day. What's my whole life?
Exactly. So we are getting past the 10 o'clock hour, so I do want to wrap things up here, but uh, two more questions for you, if that's cool.
Okay.
Uh,
Yes. No more. Just
no
kidding.
more. That's it. All right,
No, you
cut
can
off.
ask more. I'm just kidding.
Uh, what is your daily routine and advice on like your work and life balance?
That's funny. Uh, so-
It's like what work and life balance?
yeah, I'm like, what work-life balance? But for me, I have gotten really good at saying no to things. Like I would pack my schedule even like more packed with like social with friends, and I've had to become really intentional. Not that everybody isn't worth me giving my time to, but I've had to become really intentional about who I can give my energy to and when I give them that. Because especially working from home full time, my full-time job, like I would run around like a chicken with my head cut off trying to be there for everyone and do all these things and be present for everyone. And I got really comfortable being like I can't do that. And so that leaves room for me to focus on just focus generally on my work and my life, and then also being okay like canceling plans. I won't cancel plans on you like last minute or anything, but getting okay with being like I just don't feel like doing something, because what happens is when I overwork myself, then my work suffers and my actual life suffer too. So like being comfortable with having those conversations and not feeling like someone's going to hate me if I don't follow through. And I typically do. Like, I'm not out here canceling on people 5 minutes before or anything like that. But I
Mm-hmm.
try to be mindful about who I'm giving my energy to and when, and making sure that it serves both of us. Because if just one, and there's going to be times where one person, it may be serving more than the other, which is okay. But I can't say yes to everybody, and I used to say yes all the time. And then, like I said, with my yoga and stuff like that, I've just had to become adamant about going into a space and almost acting like I'm not there so that nobody will talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
And work-wise, full-time job, someone said to me once, I used to get stressed out of work all the time, like 6 years ago, and then a coworker was like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Is the like building going to blow up? Is the company going to crumble without you? And I was like, no. They're like, so it really isn't that deep. And that has stayed with me for the past 6 years. So I don't really get stressed about small things at work. I'm like, am I going to get fired because of this? No. Is my
Mm-hmm.
pay going to change? No. So it's really not that deep. And I don't really stress about it. So that's how I
Yep.
keep that balance. Or if there's something like it's gonna be okay. Like if I don't respond to someone right away, either if it's that detrimental, then maybe I should be getting paid more. If it's if it's that detrimental, which is not,
Yeah.
because everything ends up being okay in the end. So that's how I balance the life part with that of like, no, I have to make time for me and the people that I love, and my work can't overshadow that. Because no one is going to remember me for the one task that I stressed over 5 hours on. No one's going to remember that.
At
So
4:30 on a Friday.
at 4:30, like correct, like
Yeah.
no one's going to do that. So
Yeah.
that person saying it to me, someone that's I'm still very close with, changed my whole perspective on like work-life balance in terms of I don't really need to stress that much because it's not the end of the world. And
Mm-hmm.
so That's how I kind of balance things out. Just saying no to, then just realizing I don't have to do things. I don't have to do it. Like it's
Mm,
actually okay. I don't need to put other people's expectations on me. If it's not fulfilling to me, I don't need to do it.
yeah. Very cool. Well said.
So, yeah.
Um, what are you looking forward to this year?
So I packed so much into like my first year of teaching. I'm just looking forward to this year now where I feel like I'm in at least my groove of teaching, even though I've just started meditating and just seeing where that takes me now that I'm just super comfortable with like curating my yoga stuff and curating my experiences for people and connecting. I'm just looking forward to see what more people that I'm going to meet and what opportunities may come my way. And some things within Sweet Sounds Collective, we're working on some like really cool projects that I'm just excited about us sort of like popping off on and seeing if like how they do and sharing them with people and just sort of that like collective effort to like hit the goal. Like I'm just excited for all of us to grow, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet Sounds projects never fail. I'll say that from experience.
Yeah. And everyone's so dedicated and it's just beautiful. I honestly feel like more of a high watching the people that I love achieve their dreams and do all this stuff. So I love it for me, but it's cool to watch other people be really inspired and, work towards their goals and be successful. That's like
Mm,
what I love most out of working with everybody. So
mm,
there's a variety of things I'm looking forward to do this year. So just
cool.
growth. Yeah,
Growth. More of last year. More of the best of
exactly.
last year. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Cool. So I don't know if you ever seen Diary of a CEO podcasts before.
No.
But he does this tradition that I'm kind of borrowing from, but it's something I wanted to start this year. Is he leaves a question for the next guest who's going to be on, and he keeps it in a like
Okay.
ongoing thing. So, what is a question that you have, or a thought? It could be a thought as well, or a quote that you have for the next guest or next session.
A question or a thought?
Yep, either or.
Alex, you should have told me this yesterday so I
I'm
could
sorry.
prepare.
I'm sorry. I know I should have.
A what? Wait, did someone leave one for me?
No, I'm starting. This is fresh. This is
Oh,
fresh for
you just
2024. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Because I just started getting into his podcast like over the past 2 to 3 months. And I
Yeah.
was like, you know
No,
what? This would be pretty cool. So
I'm just kidding. I'm happy to be the first person.
no
I'm like, what
pressure.
about me? Yeah, I'm like, what about me?
Yours was,
Um,
what are you looking forward to this year? I started it. So
oh,
there you go.
oh yay. Love that for me. I feel like a question is a good one. I'm just trying to think of honestly, this is really cliche and corny, but I gotta tell you why this is gonna be it. So, when I was living in Charlotte and I was the first marketing job that I got, the first week that our people asked us, I'm really into like manifesting, okay? My boss were like, I want you all to write on a post-it 3 things that you want to achieve the next 5 years. On my post-it, I wrote, I want to be working remotely, which I wasn't. I was working in an office. I want to be able to work remotely so I could travel more, and I want to live by the beach. And those 3 things all happened within like a year and a half. I started working from home. I moved down to the beach, and I was able to travel and work from wherever I was traveling from. So, in the name of manifestation, I think it's where do you like what are the top 3 things that you are hoping to achieve within the next 2 years, though, instead of 5?
I think 2 years is a great timeline.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Marking it down.
Yeah. So are you gonna like tell me what they say?
Yeah, I will actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. I'll make sure I pass it the answer backward and pass the questions forward.
Nice. Hopefully I can tune into it, then I'll get the answer live and direct.
There you go. They'd be like, that was me. That was me.
Yeah. I'll be like, answer the question. They'll be like, I need time. I'll be like, no time, only answers.
If you had no time, then they have no time. Yep.
Yeah, no time. It comes full circle, man. So that's what it is.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Kat, it was great connecting with you. I appreciate all your time with the meditation, and thank you for sharing your newfound talents with us. It's been a blast, and hopefully more of these collaborations in the future. We'll get some yoga going, and
Yes,
yeah, excited for all that you got coming forward this year.
for sure. Likewise. Love everybody in the chat. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for
Thanks,
tuning in.
Alex, for having me.
Of course, no problem. Do it again soon for sure. And yes, I will look into planning flights at some point this year to come
I thought you
visit.
already did. You're already behind.
I'm already behind.
I thought, yeah, you're already behind.
I said I was browsing. I'm sorry. I did not get a chance. This was top
That's,
priority, okay? It-
I was gonna say that doesn't sound like a priority, but this is over now. So let's move forward, onward, and upward.
okay, you got it. You got
I
it.
believe in you.
Thanks. Likewise. All right, Kat. Thanks again. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Same. Ciao, everybody.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.